Hi, Rosalyn. Thank you so much for coming on the Foghorn Podcast today. What would you like to share with us?
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. And what would you like to share?
So today I would like to share one of the most memorable experiences of my sixth form life. It'd be more specifically an experience from my life in year 12.
Okay.
So I'm a recent high school graduate. I recently graduated from the Westminster School, Dubai. And for the past couple of years, they have been organizing TEDx events, annual TEDx events in school. And so back in year 11, towards the end of the academic year, somewhere in 2019, I remember this communication being sent from the school to the parents regarding the TEDx event auditions for the next academic year. And as usual, my mom forwarded the mail to me. I just kind of went through it, just to be aware of what's happening in school.
Yeah.
And at first, I honestly didn't pay much heed to it. I just kind of went through the details, understood what the theme for the next event was, and yeah, basically understood what's happening. I mean, I was definitely an active member in school for extracurricular activities. I've always been interested in anything and everything the school has to offer. But this event was really huge, and I never had done something like this before. So yes, that's what I would like to speak about today, my experience towards being an TEDx speaker.
Oh wow, sounds absolutely amazing. So what was holding you back? I guess it's such a big thing, isn't it? So what was holding you back?
Yes. So yes, at first, like I said, I wasn't very invested into the idea of auditioning for it, of course. At that time, I distinctly remember I kind of felt, small, kind of like very insignificant because, like you said, TED is huge. It's an international conference organization. And it's honestly just such a big deal. And not only people who, listen to TED Talks on the regular or, who have been on it, but I think everyone knows how enormous of an informative and thought-provoking platform it is. So, we've heard talks from celebrities, scientists, entrepreneurs, inventors, and the list just goes on. And we've just heard so many incredible, successful people talk about new ideas and theories and their point of views. It kind of made me feel like I'm just a high school student. What benefit would like my talk be to anyone? So it honestly felt like a very scary platform to begin with.
Yeah.
To like have my talk be uploaded on an international platform,
Wow.
And it made me wonder if my talk would be up to the mark that TED has acquired in all of these years, because I have never spoken on a topic in such a professional setting before. And I mean, I have spoken in assemblies in schools and I've conducted debates, I've acted on stage. But this was no comparison to like, classroom setting or, a school auditorium with just a few students. This is an international conference platform. So yeah, I was really thinking this over, and because something inside me was really like, wow, this is something you really need to do. Like this is a big shot opportunity and it'll really give you such an advantage. But like on the other side, I was just kind of afraid to not, reach up to the standard that TEDx had set. It was like an internal war inside of me. And not to forget, I was in a transition phase from the secondary stage to sixth form. And honestly, the jump from year 11 to year 12, that is from IGCSE to AS levels, is not really easy, You directly going from you directly go from studying from, let's say, at a level 3 to like a level 8, like
Wow.
1 year jump. And this truly a stressful transition, adapting to a whole different exam pattern and study schedule and new kind of materials. So yes, both of these combined, I was just really all over the place.
Wow. And who supported you? Who helped you decide, okay, I'm going to do this?
So, yes, right. In the start, I obviously decided, in the end, I obviously decided I would go for it.
Yeah.
But before I decided that, it was a really long road. I remember a friend of mine speaking about auditioning for it. And, my class teacher, she came up to me and she asked me, why aren't you going for it? And I sat down, I explained it to her. I told her, I haven't been in such a professional setting before. I absolutely have no experience whatsoever with doing something this huge. And so I remember clear as day, she said, then this is your chance for that experience.
Wow.
And I think that, kind of stayed with me. But
Yeah.
still, to some extent, I was still had the fear of, not reaching the standards. So I spoke to more people. I asked my parents, I spoke to my friends, my other teachers, and I kind of just sat down with my thoughts to clear my head and see where this could lead me to. So while all of this thinking and second guessing myself, I kind of came across this one leadership article, and it spoke about how leadership, should evolve with changing times, shouldn't be constant. And it really reflected how I thought about leadership. I always felt that leadership should be more about taking your team with you and less about commanding them and telling them what's right and what's wrong.
Yeah.
And most importantly, I
Yeah.
thought that a leader isn't made with just the right skill set. I mean, that is definitely important. But leader is made when you bring about a change, because you can be a leader with all of the qualities that you should have, like communication, influence, ability to delegate. But I feel at the end of the day, without actually making a difference, how effective would anyone be as a leader, even with all of these skill sets? And so I think that kind of provoked me. I thought that maybe I should go for it and talk about how I think of leadership and how leadership should evolve with changing times. Like, honestly, what's the worst that could happen? I wouldn't be selected. That's the worst, right? I wouldn't get through the next audition stage. But then at least I would know I gave it my best shot. So, yes, even after a lot of reluctance, I signed up for the audition. I started pinning down my thoughts with the help of my parents, my friends, my teachers, and just wrote down all the ideas I have and
Yeah.
how I would like to deliver my point of view to the people.
Wow, that's amazing. So support from your family, friends, school was very beneficial for you. Brilliant. And what happened then? So you did the talk, and how did that make you feel? That must have been a huge achievement.
Yes, it was truly such a big achievement because I was honestly reluctant at first, right? But then I sat down, sorted out my thoughts, and once I made up my mind about it, I tried my best to not make my mind wander and go back to thinking, oh, I can't do this.
Yeah.
I kind of remember with all of the academic stress, right? Especially with the transition, it was kind of getting really hard to cope up with managing both the auditions and my academics, kind of making a talk which actually stands out and reaches up to the standard. Then I remember I would stay up late at night researching more about leadership, and I heard more talks on TEDx about leadership. Then I bugged my dad to help me figure out the talk flow.
Yeah.
Then I made my friends hear me out at least a couple hundred times.
Oh no.
At least a couple hundred times. I think by the end of my rehearsal period, they had my talk memorized more than I did.
Wow. Practice
So,
makes perfect. That's so.
Yeah.
That's
So,
amazing. That's amazing.
I definitely.
So, what advice would you give to other students or anybody else your age who are, they have a big decision to make and it's a scary move? Because obviously there's probably different things, you know, you have different, I mean, that was an amazing opportunity you had, but I'm sure there's other opportunities that students maybe feel nervous, or they feel like maybe they're not good enough, or they won't reach the standards expected of them. What advice would you give to them?
Yeah, so I think a lot of us face a lot of opportunities in life which we are very scared to take up because we don't think we are good at doing that. So I think I would say, in simple terms, I would say go for it. You know, go for it, even if you aren't entirely convinced about doing something. Because I feel honestly that is the best way and the only way to put yourself out there and develop yourself as an individual, you know. I kind of strongly believe that as long as you stay in your comfort zone, there isn't any real learning or any kind of personal growth taking place. It's like you are in this fixed mindset and you confine yourself to these imaginary boundaries which just exist within your mind. And they are built up by your own self. And I think these so-called imaginary boundaries we limit ourselves to, they really hinder ourselves from reaching our full potential because we're so conscious, you know, about what we think we're best at doing that we stop ourselves from exploring new areas in the fear of, you know, being judged by society because you didn't do it right or you didn't do it the way it's supposed to, or in the fear of, you know, failure. So, in simple terms, step out of your comfort zone, explore new opportunities, and learn more about yourself in the process. And I would just say, trust the process, trust yourself, and go explore. Don't limit yourself to, you know, what you think you're best at, because maybe, just maybe, there are other, you know, unexplored areas which you may be even better at, but they are unexplored because of this mindset that you have about yourself. But I don't mean that, you know, you should be a jack of all trades and master of none. I just mean that don't fear exploring and putting yourself out there to help yourself grow, because at the end of the day, honestly, personal development is the most important gift you can give yourself.
Oh, I love that. And I love the question that you said, that you asked yourself, you know, what is the worst that can happen? I mean, that puts things into perspective as well, doesn't it? You know, when you ask yourself powerful questions like that. And I guess, you know, whatever happens is you're going to learn something and develop in some way, like you said. So what would you say to maybe students who are, you have said a lot, but what would you say to students who do have those that negative self-talk of, you know, I'm not good enough, or it's not going to work? I know you said just go for it, but what should they do with those thoughts? Is there anything that can help them? Like, what helped you when you were having those thoughts?
So before you go out there and just go for it, you know, sit down with yourself, try to understand where these thoughts are coming from. Like, what made you think of those? Why do you think that you may not be good at this? Or what do you think may cause that failure? And those, once you explore those areas, then maybe you feel more in control of it, because I think we are all scared of failure because we don't have control over that. So if you take control of those factors, if you understand what could go wrong, then maybe you could plan ahead for it and maybe try to divert yourself away from that. So most important part that I would say is to think about your thoughts, write down all of your thoughts. Journaling helps a lot. Write down and try to understand yourself better and understand why you think that you are not good at this. So why do you think this could lead to failure?
Oh, wow. And I like what you said. You did a lot of practice with your friends, and so surrounding yourself with supportive people as well helped you.
Yeah, right. I remember till till before a week of TEDx, I still hadn't had my talk in place. I was still kind of all over the place, and I just had 1 week to, you know, talk about it on stage. And I was kind of freaking out, honestly. But then I was like, if I came all this way, there's no way I can just give up 1 week before, because all of the posters were out, they were all across the school, everyone knows who's going to be speaking.
Oh no.
Yeah, you can't just give up at that
No,
point, right?
yeah.
So I was like, you have to do this. It's sit up. I don't care. Whatever you do, figure this out. Figure it out. This is not the time you can give up. So yeah.
And how did you feel when you got up on stage? Like, were you, like the moments before and when you first got up, were you really, really nervous? Or were you okay?
So before the actual day, we had like a couple auditions on the stage. I mean, a couple rehearsals on the stage. And I remember I was still faltering then. I was still faltering. I couldn't remember what I had to say, even though the auditorium was empty.
Oh, right.
So I was really nervous. I thought that, when I go on stage, I'd just look at the audience and be like, oh no, what am I going to say? But then the moment when I walked on the stage, it's like I I don't know how, but I remembered everything I had to say. I remembered honestly everything I had to say, and it didn't feel that nervousness at all, not even for a bit. So I
Wow.
just went up on stage and spoke about it. But I think that kind of happened because I believed in what I'm speaking about, and it's kind of something that I want to live by. So I think it kind of just came out naturally.
Oh, amazing, amazing. That sounds absolutely great. And how did you feel after, once you had done the speech? Like, how did you feel?
So funny story, I walked down the stage and you have those mics, right? On your like headset kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I didn't put it off. I went up to my friend and like, how was it? And the whole auditorium heard it. And he was like, oh no. I'm like, oops. They're like, don't worry, they're gonna cut it out. So I kind of felt really accomplished though.
Say that again.
Apart
Sorry.
from what I did in the last, I kind of felt really accomplished.
Okay.
Like, wow, I did this. Like 5, 6 months ago, I was so reluctant about it. I was thinking that should I go for it? Should I not go for it? But once I walked down the stage, apart from that little embarrassing moment, I felt really accomplished and I felt like I did something there. And it really put out my point of view. And I really want people to, connect to what I said.
And how has that helped your confidence by doing something that was initially quite scary for you?
So now I think, I take opportunities more freely without, doubting myself or my ability to carry out these tasks. Like if I see an opportunity coming my way, I like to take it without, kind of second guessing myself and second guessing my confidence. Because I think, like I said, that's the best way to, put yourself out there. You can't just practice confidence without, putting yourself out there and, taking up opportunities that scare you. You're just always going to stay in your comfort zone and you're not going to grow. So kind of explore new things and put myself out there and learn every day is how I develop my confidence even further.
Yeah. And even if you're scared, do it anyway. Sounds like you're saying feel the fear and do it anyway. Yeah, that sounds amazing. So have you got any other advice for students or anything else you would like to say before we go?
So I would like to say that just honestly take every opportunity that comes your way because you never know what one opportunity is going to lead you to where. Maybe if I hadn't spoken that day, if I wouldn't have taken the choice to go up on that stage, maybe I wouldn't be here in this podcast right now speaking about my experience. So it's kind of like a ripple effect. You take one opportunity and kind of leads you to another, then that leads you to another. So even if something scares you, but you know that it's going to be definitely beneficial to you and help you in your personal growth, always go for it. Even if you take time to decide whether you should do it, just sit down, think it through, and go for it.
Well, that sounds amazing. And what do you think about making mistakes as well before we go?
I think that's important, because without making mistakes, you wouldn't know, you wouldn't develop yourself again. You wouldn't know where to go. You wouldn't know what's right and wrong, because if you didn't make that mistake, you would still think it's right. You wouldn't know that was the wrong path to take. Because you made that mistake, that is wrong. Maybe you can divert yourself from that path and move on to another, and figure out another way to make things right.
Yeah, because I think a lot of students and people in general are sometimes scared to take that chance or do something different because they don't want to make a mistake. So then they, like you said, they stay in their comfort zone and they don't actually develop.
Exactly.
But yes, thank you so much, Rosalyn. It was so good to talk to you, and for you to share your experiences about self-confidence and feeling the fear and doing it anyway. So thank you so much, and look forward to seeing you again soon.